I am a part of a lot of fandoms. However, I also join a lot of fandoms quite late into the show, or sometimes when the show has completely finished airing. When that happens, I always wonder what it was like to actually be a part of that fandom week by week while the show was airing. What the theories were, what the memes were, what the things the fandom fixated on each week, etc. etc. However, there was one show that I watched while it was airing, a show that I actually knew about before it aired, and that show is none other than Skate the Infinity. So yes, as you can probably tell by now, in this video I'm going to be going from episode to episode and explaining to you what the fandom reactions were to each episode. Before I do that though, I want to disclaim that by the fandom I mean mostly TikTok because that's where the show mostly blew up. I don't really use Instagram, so I don't know what things were like on there. The things that were people were saying on Twitter were basically the same things people were saying on TikTok. YouTube, videos are planned, scripted. Most of the time, they weren't even planned the week of the episode coming out. So yeah, my main source of information will be coming from what I remember from TikTok. Okay, let's get started. Okay, prior to the anime being released in the winter season, there was a summer trailer that came out, and it was posted on TikTok. And I remember there being a lot of gatekeepers, like skateboarders, saying how if you don't skateboard, you shouldn't watch the show, and how the shippers are gonna come and ruin the show, etc. etc. And then there were lots of people talking about the catboy. I don't remember what they were saying specifically, but the catboy would be Mia, but we didn't know that back then. But yeah, there were lots of people talking about that as well. So yeah, that's what happened like prior to the anime releasing. There was that one trailer, that one TikTok, and that's all I saw until the show actually started airing. I was really anticipating the show though because it looked quite good, but I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. Week 1. Not many people were talking about it, but there were a few edits of Longa on the skateboard in that episode. Yeah, that's pretty much all I saw. People were talking about Shadow, I remember, but again, there was not many people talking about it. Like there were one or two TikToks every now and again during the first week. No one was really talking about it. It wasn't really as big as it is now. Week 2, same, not many people were talking about it, but there were a few edits here and there of that scene where Langa learns to do the ollie. People were aware at this point that the director of Banana Fish was also the director of Skate, and so there were a lot of Banana Fish comparisons, especially that one scene with the like eye. I'll show you here, but like there was one scene with the eye where Reki sees Langa doing the skateboard thingy, and then Ash looking at Edgy like jump off the thing. There were like a lot of comparisons to there. There were also there were also a lot of theories about Longa dying because of that one scene in the opening where he chases Longa but he kept disappearing. Yeah, that was a thing that happened. People thought Longa was gonna die. But yeah, that's about it for week 2. Again, not much was happening, but there were a lot of like banana fish comparisons. Like that was a big thing that was happening during this week. Week 3. This is when I started to see more TikToks about Skate. There were lots of TikToks about Mia because I think this was the episode where he was introduced. This was when we first got introduced to Adam, and when we first introduced him, people didn't really like him much. There wasn't really like any strong negative reaction to him, but like we were kind of just like, oh, this guy, we don't really know how to feel about this guy. Yeah, there was still a lot of hysteria about Lunga dying. Like people genuinely thought he was gonna die. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, that was week 3. Again, not much was happening, but there were definitely a lot more TikToks about it. It just wasn't as much as there were in its prime, but yeah. Week 4/5. By now, everyone hates Adam. There was this weird period on TikTok where if you said anything not negative about Adam, you were gonna get attacked. It was crazy. I remember it being really toxic actually. And like I remember there being this one TikToker that said that they thought Adam was hot or something. They got attacked and their page got taken down because they were supporting a yeah, and people were like agreeing with that. People thought that was a fair thing to happen to that person. Yeah, it was very weird. There were a lot of Hisoka comparisons, I remember. Also, remember when I said people thought Longa was gonna die? Yeah, the hysteria went up by like 1,000% this episode because people thought Longa was gonna break the promise he made to Reki and end up dying. Especially when we got that flashback to his old friend and his old friend getting into that accident, people thought that the same thing was gonna happen to Longa, but instead he was gonna die. Yeah, that opening really did things to people. People are like so dramatic. I cannot even. Also, this is when the palm tree hate train started. It wasn't like as big as it got later on, but like this is when it kind of started. Also, can I just disclaim that I was never part of the people who thought Langa was gonna die. I thought that what was gonna happen was that Langa was gonna get further away from Reki for whatever reason, and then after a certain episode, it became clear that what was gonna happen was that Langa was gonna become better at skateboarding than Reki, and it was gonna be like the intro was kind of symbolizing Reki not being able to keep up with him. I thought that was kind of obvious. I don't know why people thought he was gonna die. Whatever. Week 6, the beach episode. There were a lot of Renga shippers and Matcha Blossom shippers this episode, as you can imagine. This was around the time when the Cindereki CD was announced too, so there was even more shipping. Speaking of Matcha Blossom, I don't remember when exactly this happened, but sometime around the 5th episode, or maybe even earlier, people were like, we are absolutely not calling this ship Jerry. So as a fandom, we just all decided to call it Matcha Blossom instead of Jerry, because Joe's hair is green like matcha, and then cherry blossom. Yeah, we kind of all agreed to that. I don't even remember who came up with the ship name, but I saw one TikTok saying that the Jerry was ugly, so we're calling it matcha blossom. And then from then on, everyone was just referring to them as matcha blossom. Like we all saw that one TikTok or something. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, the ship is matcha blossom, and I don't remember how that happened.
I haven't watched Skate yet, but you know what I really enjoy about your little fandom is that you really said no to Jerry. You're like, Joe and Cherry are too pretty for their ship name to be Jerry. So you came up with Matcha Blossom. You create your own narrative.
From this episode on is when the show grew noticeably larger in like terms of fan base. Like before it was quite big for an anime original, but from this episode on is when I noticed my whole feed page was skate. Like literally every other video was someone posting something skate related. I hadn't even seen that much for any other anime I watched while it was airing, like not even Jujutsu Kaisen. Speaking of Jujutsu Kaisen was airing at the same time skate was. That's like really weird to think about. Anyways, week 7, people still thought Longa was gonna die. A lot of people turned on Longa, saying how he was a bad friend for wanting to break his promise that he made with Reki. This episode is when a lot of Reki Kennies started to pop out. Like that was a thing. People were really like relating to Reki. And Reki became a lot more popular after this episode as well. But for that reason, people were calling the scene where Long and Reki had that argument a breakup episode, which was funny. I thought that was funny. I don't know. I remember this being where the palm tree hate train really started to take off. Like I remember people changing their profile pictures to palm trees with like an X around it. These profile pictures were everywhere. Skate TikToks were flooded with users with that profile picture. But I also remember those users being on like TikToks that weren't skate related or even anime related. And it just showed how mainstream the fandom had gotten. There was this meme / TikTok trend where users would put information on something that a fandom really wanted to see, and then before showing them the rest, they would like play the ending song with the palm trees. A lot of fan artists did this. They would show us the process of drawing some fan art. Sometimes it wasn't even skate themed, and then right before they reveal it, they would show us like the end credits, and we would never know what the art was gonna look like. Week 8. This was the episode where Longa's mom was like, "You like them, right?" And then Longa was like, "Yes," while blushing. And people were analysing the language, saying how the word he used for like is the word you use in Japanese when you like someone romantically. Also, his mum said something about along the lines of "tell her how you feel," and then Longa was like "her," and that scene blew up everywhere. That scene was like everywhere during that week. This was where the Renga ship really blew up. Like before, most people who watched the show really shipped Reki and Longa, but from this episode on is when people thought the writers were actually planning on making the ship canon, and for that reason it became a lot more popular than it already was. So from this episode on, people were kind of just waiting to see if they were gonna make Rengar canon, and I was like, it was a lot of fun just watching each episode and being like, are they gonna make it canon? Like, is this gonna be actually like a canon ship? Like from this episode on, people were analyzing every single thing that happened between Reki and Longa, because we were just so excited to see if they'd put a Yuri on ice on us. Week 9. This was the episode where Cherry raced Adam. In this episode, we got to see a flashback to Joe, Cherry, and Adam's relationship. People were saying how Adam was in the past. This was back when you still couldn't say something too positive about Adam, but it wasn't as bad as in like the first, when he was first introduced and people were getting cancelled for saying anything remotely positive about him. Yeah. This was the episode where Adam hit Cherry with his skateboard. Everyone was freaking out about how sadistic Adam was for doing that. At this point, people realized that Adam was actually psychotic, like there was actually something wrong with him. There was that one scene where it kind of implied that Adam and Cherry had a thing going on as teenagers, and you would think that would be a big thing that everyone was talking about, but no one was really saying anything about that. I thought it was crazy for one, but no one really said anything about it. There was this scene at the end of the episode where Cherry came out from the hospital to go to Joe's restaurant, and the Matcha Blossom shippers went crazy. Everyone was talking about how Cherry left the hospital specifically to see Adam, and how that was cute because Cherry has anxiety, and needs Carla to play music before he can fall asleep, but he fell asleep immediately when he was with Joe. So yeah, that was what happened in week 9. Can I just say that I have a horrific memory, so I just need a round of applause for being able to remember all of this. Like, this is so out of character for me. Week 10 and 11. Okay, week 10, there wasn't really much that happened this week. I believe this was the episode where Reki or Longa were like, I want to stay infinitely with you or something like that, and the Ranga shippers went crazy. Most of the fandom was expecting a confession during this scene. Tadashi and Reki in the Love Hotel, yeah, people were talking about that. People were also talking about how Reki couldn't catch a break because a bunch of different things were happening to him this episode. Week 11, again, not much happened in the fandom. People were really proud of Reki for racing Adam and basically almost beating him. People were making fun of Adam all over my free page. Like, that was the main thing that was happening. People were pointing out how Cherry left Carla with Shadow so that he could watch the match from the hospital, and that was adorable. Week 12, this was a very bittersweet episode because it was the last episode. People were saying their goodbyes to Skate. They were saying how happy they were to be a part of the fandom while it was airing, how much they were going to miss the show, how much they were going to miss the palm trees, etc, etc. It also sparked a lot of conversation and discourse about queer coding versus queer baiting, because a lot of people thought that they had been queer baited since Ranga wasn't canon, and lots of people thought that it had been queer coded because it was quite obvious that those two were canon even if it wasn't explicitly stated. That discourse is actually what inspired my last video, which was about queer coding versus queer baiting, so if you want to check that out, I'll link it in the card. But yeah, most people agreed that Skate was an example of queer coding, and nowadays if you were to see a TikTok with edits from shows with gay ships, Skate would be included in it. People were also making edits drawing attention to the Yuri on Ice parallel in the hug scene when Longa won. This was also the episode where Adam said that Tadashi was going to be his dog forever, and Tadashi ended up smiling, and there was so many memes about that one. I want to see if I can find my favorite one, because there was this one that just makes me laugh every single time I see it. I tried to see if I could find it.
Bark, 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 bark.
But yeah, people are so funny. That was a really big thing that happened that week. The Tadashi memes that kept going on for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks after the show had ended. So yeah, those were the things that happened weekly. I'm gonna get into things that happened on the side now. These are things that didn't happen specifically in 1 week, but happened over the course of the show's runtime. For that, there was this trend where people would dance to the opening. You see the beginning bit where Vicky and Longa are dancing, and it's like dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that bit. People would dance to that. People would buy and paint their skateboards with Longa skateboard design. Small businesses that sold custom skateboards would get a lot of Skate Infinity related orders. There was this thing in the Reki CD that everyone was talking about where Reki was Cinderella and Longa was the prince. This was like official, by the way. It wasn't like something that the fandom made up. There was this fan fiction that everyone was talking about. I think it was called The First Time You Kissed a Boy. I don't remember what it was called, but everyone was talking about it and reading it. I didn't read it because I don't really read fan fiction, but it was really popular when Skate was airing, maybe a bit afterwards as well. I don't really remember because I wasn't reading it, but yeah. The Skate dub was very, very popular for being iconic and gayer than the actual anime. The quote, "Hey bitches and bros and non-binary hoes," was very popular in and of itself and brought in a lot of new Skate fans. So even when after the official show ended, people were still watching it in dub, and the dub was still airing, so people would be sharing clips, and there'd still be clips on it on my feed page even after the show had ended. And new people would or people who didn't really watch anime were watching the show and they were watching it in dub, so it was kind of like what happened with Yuri and I. So there were a lot of new fandoms. There were a lot of new fans that came in. I still get skate TikToks to this day, and I can't wait for the anime project Bones is doing for it. But to conclude, being a part of the skate fandom was a very big part of my life and personality during the winter season and onwards. Skate managed to jump to my third favorite anime of all time. I love it so much. It's so important to me. My favorite thing about watching shows has always been being a part of the fandom, because it makes me feel like we're one big family, and the fact that there was such a big, active, tight-knit fandom just made the enjoyment of the show even better for me, and it was one of the main reasons why I loved it as much as I did. Yeah, I hope that there are more skate projects in the future. I would do anything for a season 2. If there's anything I forgot to mention, be sure to comment down below. If there was anything that happened on other platforms like Instagram, mostly Instagram, make sure to comment down below as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.